Mandikhangele uba iphina le report. Yes, please. Yes.
To talk about this, I was of the view that you are going to come back and report to us. And I also want to remind you, all of you, that you do not have much powers today. This is our meeting, not the convex meeting. Then thereof, it's us who are going to decide what must happen to this meeting, not you as the convex. So, Chair, I'm raising these things because there are people whose faith outside solely rely on us to engage the convex and the registrar, or whoever who is having an upper hand in terms of organizing this meeting.
Yes.
Because there are people who has RSVP on time. Those people are outside, they are unable to come inside because they are told that they do not appear on the roll. They are unable to vote. And to me, this is quite a very serious constitutional problem, even beyond the statute of WSU. Because those people now are unable to vote whilst they have a right to vote and to be voted. Now, I'm raising those things so that we are on the same par, all of us. And also, President, maybe I must raise this thing. Your last utterances disappointed me to a certain extent. If Comrade Mduzlwana was chaotic, but at the meeting he was never chaotic, he just raised his hand. And he never said anything, but I want to believe you attacked him for no reason. Number two, you see, President, when something that happens to you today, I must be cautious that it might happen to me tomorrow.
Yes.
In the last AGM, it was very chaotic. I was shouted, insulted, and people were laughing. It was nice. We need to condemn those behaviors.
Except me.
Except you, correct? We need to condemn those behaviors. We can't continue like that. It can be right when it's done to someone and it's wrong when it's done to someone. Now, President, before we may proceed to your report, can we be given a clarity on what is the status of those comrades who are waiting outside, and also how are we moving forward for those who are unable to vote, who RSVP'd on time, so that we are able to move forward on the same path? Thank you.
All right. No, thanks, Comrade Tia. And thanks also for pointing out the concern around my reaction to Mr. Mduzlwana. If he felt offended, I apologize, but the issue had happened outside, and which I had to address. That was the context. But personally, I have no issue with him, that there's no need to take that issue further. I mean, personally, I completely apologize to him. What I was condemning was his behavior outside, which was directed at Simthandile. So that was the only issue there. I think you raised an important point on the first one, which is the issue of people with RSVPs. We also have the same concern, because I also have people here who've written to me saying we've RSVP'd, but the system is not accepting us. So all of the names that were coming, we've sent them to the registrar, because we as convex actually have no control over that system. It's controlled in the office of the registrar, including the voting system is controlled in the office of the registrar. Our job was simply to endorse it when it came. So right now, as matters stand, those names of people that have RSVP'd but who are being prevented are being processed by the registrar. That is why Simthandile, Mantashe, and Mchito have left. It's to make sure that there is no person who has RSVP'd who is being denied access to the venue. So we are completely with you on that point. It's actually unacceptable that there's a discrepancy between the list that the security have and the list of people that have been allowed in. The only saving grace is that even if you are in a bus outside, you have the voting link. So it's sent to you automatically and you can get in and vote. The issue is simply about getting them access to the venue. Then the last thing about this, I went there when I comrade personally outside, because I didn't want to hear stories, why are people outside, etc. But I went there. Some of those people are visibly drunk. Visibly drunk. You can see that these people are drunk. Now, you have to make a choice as a leadership. Whether you allow people that are visibly drunk to come into your meeting, whether they have RSVP'd or not is a different issue. You are not a leader if you allow people who are drunk to come into a meeting. You are not a leader. You are an opportunist. You are trying to win simply because you think those people are your supporters. But if you are a leader, you must take an unpopular decision. You must take a decision to stop even the people who support you from coming to disturb a convocation meeting. The reason we ended up not finishing in 15 minutes is because we were trying to make a decisive intervention on this issue. I mean, I don't know if you were there actually, you've seen this yourself. I personally tried to address, in fact, no one was able to address them because of the singing, the heckling, and the drunken stupor that we all witnessed. Couldn't address them. And that is why we took a decision that let's go back to the venue. The meeting is correct. Let's continue the AGM. Let's present our reports. Let's ask questions to the VC. You see, comrades, we are never going to build this institution. We're never going to even build convocation. If we bend the rules to accommodate people because they support us, you have to be unpopular. And I know this is not a popular decision, but we've made it. And fortunately, it was unanimous. Everyone who has been in this meeting was unanimous on stopping drunks from coming into our meeting. So I'm afraid we are not going to bend on that one. You may not like it. You may even criticize us, or you may kick us out of office for that reason. But I'm afraid I think it is the right decision. So those people, I think there's about 12 of them who were outside, are not going to be allowed in this venue. People that are orderly and have RSVP'd, we've instructed the registrar to make sure they come into the venue because we are as equally offended that people are there, they are not being able to come. There were people also from Johannesburg or Pretoria, I don't know where they came from, who were outside. We've had to say to them, guys, rather than get into a scuffle, go and sit in the bus and try and be peaceful. See, we are always condemning the SRC for rowdiness. Who is going to be exemplary in this university if it is not us? So I'm sorry about this, but the decision of Convex is that we continue the meeting, we ask questions to the VC, we read our report, we ensure that people that have RSVP'd have been incorrectly excluded are allowed in. We stop the drunks from coming to cause disruption. And that's the decision we've taken. We think it's a right decision, and people may not. And you are right that our powers are not as big as they are in between the AGM. You are right on that. But that doesn't mean we should not be leadership. We should always display leadership. So I agree with you. Some of the decisions must be taken by the AGM itself, and some can be taken by us as Convex. So on that, you are absolutely right. However, there are certain decisions that still reside with the Convex whose term ends tonight. And that's where I have been insisting that it's actually time for us to lead. And leading means taking unpopular decisions. So that is where that issue stands. We will revisit it once I've done my report and look at whether the people that have genuinely RSVP'd are being prevented. And if that's still the case, we're going to take the registrar into task about that. But that issue is not closed, even from our point of view, because I have about 5 similar messages directed at me saying, with RSVP, why are we being excluded? So that's where the problem. I mean, I couldn't even go outside myself because the head of security was telling me that it's a security risk, which I don't understand. But I couldn't go outside, and I have to live with that decision. So most of the points you've raised, I think, are genuine points, and they will be engaged in due course. But I really beg you guys, I really beg you that we have to continue the business of the AGM. We have to give you back your convocation. You must elect a new executive. This is your structure. We have to give it back to you today. We are already at 2 o'clock, in a process that we thought we would finish at 3:30. Now, you are right, Mr. Tia, also about something else, which was that there were people that insulted you in the last AGM. But you will also remember when I made my closing inputs, that I specifically raised the issue that people should not be heckled, should not be insulted. And raise specifically your name, that this does not look like I'm in a meeting of convocation here. It looks like I'm in a meeting of some other structure, not like a meeting of convocation. So I am completely opposed to people being heckled and insulted. And sure, I mean, insofar as Mr. Mtuzulwana is concerned, if you are worried about that, I'm happy to apologize to him personally. But the issue of disruptions, really we need to guard against. I'm chairing this meeting, I'm the president of convocation. If I've given a ruling, my expectation is that it is going to be followed. I don't expect that it is going to be challenged because that ruling is given after I've listened to inputs. So anyone who becomes chair of convocation, that's what they expect, that they've seen the situation, they've made a decision, and people will comply with it. And that is why you have to stop the disruption when it's starting to happen. Don't wait until it escalates, because it's impossible to stop it if you've allowed it to escalate. Unfortunately, these are all decisions or lessons we have learned in experiences of being in structures like this. You learn that you let one hand to go off track. It's impossible to manage a meeting after that. And that is why we have to be regimented in this, insofar as we run this as concerned. So, in summary, we will come back to the issue of RSVPs that are being prevented once the registrar has done what we asked him to do. What we thought we would do now is let me present my report. We've had the VC's report, and let's have a debate on that. And then once this is done, we can come back to those issues. So if you could please let me continue with the business of the AGM. As I've stated already, most of you have access to this report because we thought it must just be distributed. There's nothing secretive about it, and it will be on the university website, and it's been sent to everyone. Okay, so I still have one convex member with me. I don't want to read everything because 35 pages is long and I'm going to drive many people to sleep. But the first thing I wanted to just say is that when I was elected together with the 6 other members of convocation, for me personally, that was a tremendous achievement because I had been at UNITRA before in the early 90s, well, mid-90s, and I had served as the president of the SRC. And it was a personal joy that I had to come back to the university that gave me, everything that I subsequently became. And I have no doubt the same feeling for each and every member of convocation who was elected into convex at that point, because interestingly, many convex members, they used to hold leadership positions, either in SRC or within the trade union. So I am therefore grateful that I see Ngola is phoning me. I wonder if there's a problem with connectivity. Is it okay? All right. Yes, please. Yeah, no, you know, what we should do, I think let's keep the screen here so that I can see who's here. Yeah. All right, kagufake unqola ke ake athethe ke sive. Nimvulele. Teta, Mr. No, this guy. All right, sorry, let me just. Jonga sekuvulele teta. Oh, they've muted it. All right, okay. Jonga ke teta ke ngokuvulele.
Yes, President. Can you hear me?
Yeah, siyakuva.
Yes, President. Thank you very much. The first complaint that I have was the issue of the muting. Till now we've been locked out of the meeting. We can only hear you on the other side, but we can't be given an opportunity to contribute in the proceedings of the AGM. We have listened to some of our fellow colleagues who were contributing to the proceedings, but that's the only thing we could do from the virtual side because we were muted right through. I think that's one of the issues that we must address because it would actually mean that we're not part of the proceedings. We're here, we're listening from a radio kind of an arrangement. I think this muting thing must come to an end, President, so that convocants who are connected must be able to contribute towards the proceedings. The second issue, President, is the registrar, when he first addressed in the morning, he addressed the AGM and said, voting has already started. And when we said voting has already started, the rules were not tabled in the AGM for the attendees to understand the rules, to contribute towards the content and the context at which the rules were formulated. And I think it is causing a problem. It is true, President, there are a lot of people who could not be allowed to RSVP. They did go to the website, they could not get through, including myself, but I managed it through an email address that I sent to someone else in the university staff. So we do have a number of convocants who have got a problem of participating in the AGM on the basis of the RSVP issue. If you will still remember, President, in the last AGM, we have said there must be a concerted effort from the office of the registrar to formulate a database so that it must be easy for every convocant of Walter Sisulu University to attend the proceedings of the AGM of convocation. So we're going to have a problem of a very minimal number of participants in this AGM on the basis of the system, not on the basis of the will of convocants to contribute. So I think that's part of the issue the AGM must discuss, President, because this means actually we don't have a database, and we're going to have problems in terms of identifying convocants who are eligible to participate in this AGM. Because we don't have a database, we are only RSVP'd as if we're invited to the registrar's birthday party. I don't think that's how we must operate. This AGM must actually be able to fix part of those problems, President. Thank you very much for allowing me. I wanted just to register those things with the AGM.
Yes.
Thank you very much. There are people who are locked outside the system. There are people who can't vote. There are people who are outside the gate as well. So Convex must help us, the AGM must help us address those issues so they do not happen in the near future. Once our problems won't stop and we are going to have continuous problems. Thank you.
Thank you, comrade. You know, I'm actually with you on this because I'm totally annoyed that the system is kicking people who have RSVP, because we thought the system of the RSVP is to ensure that we have the right people here. And none of the Convex members support this. We all think that this is crazy. It's the same point that Utia has actually made around the problems with the RSVP. So we have to address that. Now, for what we should decide here, I'm going to do the report. This item is not closed. We will come back and discuss it. But we just need a sequence of where we place it. So we will come back to this topic about these RSVPs. But we need to first get to the bottom of the actual facts about what's going on. And that's why we've asked the registrar that he must go and just check what is happening. Why are people who've RSVP'd not being allowed in? You know, and that's why he's gone. And Comrade Ford, Comrade Mandashe, Comrade Mchitwa have specifically been assigned to look into this problem. Because I'm also receiving SMSs, I think every 2 seconds I get a new SMS, RSVP'd, but I'm not being allowed in. So we are all on the same page on this. We don't support it, but the system is designed the way it is. And no, I think, guys, let me finish my report. We will, if we get stuck on discussions, yes, yeah, and one.
Mr. Ngola is raising triggers something to me. We are in a meeting that in many ways is not conventional in terms of how meetings are run. Because we've got elections who are continuing, you are still to deliver, because you understand in terms of our running meetings, when your term ends, it should have been when the registrars take over to run elections. But they are continuing simultaneously in this issue. Something comes to me, Jola, that we have not heard from you as Convex that this is what was presented by registrar to say, this is how we initiated the process of online, these are shortfalls and shortcomings, and these are the causes of it. I think we've got about how many candidates there? Almost to 10, I think. But what we are not being told, I don't know whether your report is going to cover that. What recourse do those candidates have in case they believe that bendihleli a computer center ethile with 10 people who were causing people to vote for my name, and I happen not to emerge? What kind of recourse do I have in terms of challenging the process? Remember the process, you just considered to it that it is solely a business of the registrar. This gives me another question. What powers do we have at this meeting? What are we going to say to the report you are giving us? How is it assisting us? Because it seems to me, President, that we are in a show of registrar here. Not only are the people locked out of the gate, even the people who want to vote online, there are people who are whatever, but they are unable to vote even online. Now we're in a situation where we're in a show of registrar this, registrar that. What exactly powers do we have at this meeting? In terms of conventional rules of organizations, we understand this meeting to be the highest decision-making for convocants of WSU. But it appears to me that this is the highest decision-making of the registrar. What powers do we have? What can we change? What can we not change? If I have a complaint in terms of this, because it seems that you were told by the registrar that this is the process of voting. It ends there. There's nothing we can do. There's nothing else we cannot do. There are people who are online who have RSPV, but they are unable to vote even online. What recourse do we have about that? Elections are continuing. So I do not want Jola to allow you to continue, give report. If, when we get to see that, even if you did not give that report, it could not matter because there is nothing we are going to do about it. I just want us to clarify, do we have any power as this house to take any decision, whether to challenge what has already happened, to say, no, we disagree, or even to say we amend a part of what has already happened? Do we have a power in this house? So that perhaps we do not waste your time and end up wasting our time when at least we appear to be SRC members as high school, as this is the process. Let me first, lastly, Diabulela Jola, that you were able to withdraw what happened before. I was afraid that everyone was a staff member here. Ebeza wanengxaki yokuthetha kule meeting because nguwe oqasha abantu babaqashayo. Ndiyabulela into yoba uyi-withdraw laa nto kaMduzulwana because bendinexhala uba umuntu ebezothetha apha kuphikisa ebezawuba nento ethi because ungu-chairperson we-council. That's leadership that we want. To say if, because it's emotive le nto sikuwe njengoba usithi uyanifrustrata nani. Uba istaff esilapha esiphangele usu masingabi naxhala kuba uqasha ubhosi wabo onguMama uShila bangagxotha bangaswa kwidisi. Ndiyabulela.
All right, Jongan comrades. Lento le ndizayivala ngoku. I-item ekhoyo ngoku i-agenda i-report yam. I-item esizayixoxa in due course, and this is a question of sequencing. What do we start with first? The law says I must deliver my annual report. After that, the registrar will come and, because you see, we should not be defending the registrar's system. The registrar must come here and defend himself. We ourselves may have issues with it. So for now, his instruction from Convex is that he must fix the problem of people that have RSVP'd, but they are being blocked. That is what we've instructed him to do. He will come back and he will resolve that. Now, I have to do my legal duty, which is to give you our report for the year. That is why an AGM is called, is to receive a report. If you insist on talking about elections, because it's a tendency to just talk about elections, which does not do the business of convocation. So your point has not been dismissed. It has been sequenced. It will be dealt with once this report is done. We've heard from the VC. Now this is my report, and I will be very short on the report because the actual substance has been distributed. Everybody has it. So once this is done, this topic will be debated exhaustively. All of the points you've made about the problems of online, we also have the same problems. So there's no one sitting here who's defending the system as being perfect. We have the same concerns, but the registrar must come and explain. All right, so I already spoke about our election in June 2019. Then the next thing I have that is contextual to our report has been the coronavirus pandemic. Because for 2 years of our term, the country had the coronavirus pandemic. What that meant was that we couldn't hold an AGM in 2020, which was the first time that we finished 1 year in June 2020. We could only hold an AGM in June of 2021. So what this means, there are no hands that will be allowed, so please drop your hand. What this means is that this is the second AGM, but there should have been 3 AGMs. There has also been another change in the leadership of the institution. Professor Rob Mitchley, when we took over, was the Vice Chancellor. He left the office because his term of office came to an end. There is now a new Vice Chancellor who has been in office since the beginning of 2021, Professor Rashila Songo. And in that transition of leadership, it would probably be unfair to say that convocation did not play a meaningful role. And most of the things we have done in the 3 years that we have been in office are known to many of you because the nature of the work of convocation is public. But in order for me to give you a sensible report, I need to take 5 agenda items that we have been engaged with. The first of those items, we call them priority items, which were mentioned at the very first elective meeting of this executive. It was the restoration of the academic integrity of the university. And I would like us to look into this quite seriously, especially in the light of the recent developments about certain of our programs being discontinued. The second one has been how to raise the profile of the university and by connecting with former alumni and asking them to continue playing a role in their university. The third area of focus has been fundraising. How do we help the university to raise funds, given its location in the Eastern Cape and given the rural nature of the offerings of the university? And the fourth area has been how to improve good governance within the institution. And the last area has been on student welfare. What should the contribution of convocation be on student welfare? So these are the 5 priority areas that we committed with at the commencement of our term of office. So let me go through each of these quickly and see where we are and what challenges still lie ahead. On academic integrity, here is the context. WSU is a product of a merger between a traditional university, the then University of Transkei, and Technicons, Eastern Cape Technicon, Border Technicon. And that's what creates a distinction with this university. That has major implications, some of which were touched upon by the VC. But I think convocation, as former graduates, is particularly interested in this question, because if there is a question mark about the academic standing of your programs, the impact is experienced more keenly by graduates. Where do we stand then on research? On every